Alright guys, welcome to another session of Edu-Champs bootcamp. So I'll be teaching you guys how to create a form using just HTML and CSS. So let's get started. Now you have two of your files already prepared, the codex.css and codex.html file. Now you have the default title, which is the page title. We're using TrebeEdit, so if you don't have TrebeEdit, better get that before you proceed with this video. Now for the title, let's just quickly change that up to sign up form. After that's done, if you can notice, or if you notice, you would notice that we have an external CSS file, so we'll be linking that to the HTML file using this. So inside that href, that hyperlink reference, will be imputing the name of our CSS file in it. Now this is already linked to our CSS file, so anything we style in the CSS is going to have an effect in your HTML file. Now note this, that HTML is used to mark up, is the skeleton of a website, while CSS is used to add styles to it. Let's get started with the form. Now the first thing we're going to be doing is to create a container in which everything in the form is going to be in. Now I'm sure you all must have heard of div at least once, if not twice, so let's create a div. A div is just a transparent container. Let's quickly do that. Now under the body, let's create a div tag. Now let's go to this, then class. The class should be container, and inside that div, let's create another div whose class name should be let's give the class name of form box, and inside that form box, let's create an h1 element, and let's give it sign up. Let's just put in sign up there. Let's load this and see what we have in our web browser. So we are having this. I think we automatically have a style in our CSS, so I'll be removing that for us to see it by default. So let's remove everything in the CSS so we can start afresh again. And when I go here, this is what we have. This is how it's supposed to be without any style. Now let's move on. Under the h1 element, we're going to be creating our form element, the form container, where all our informations are going to be put in. Now inside that form element, let's create another div container with a class name of input group, a div container with a class name of input group. Now inside that div container of input group, let's create 3 div containers named input field. 3 div containers named input field. So class input field, and inside there, let's just create an input element. With a type of text and place holder name. Now let me load that and let's see what we have in our host. So we're having this, right? So now let's copy the input field elements and paste it 2 more times to make it 3. Let's paste it again. Let's adjust this too. So we are having three inputs like this. Now for the second one, let's change it to email and the placeholder email. Then this one should be password and the placeholder also should be password. So let's load that and you have something like this. Now under the last div element, which is the input field that contains the input of password, let's create a paragraph element under this. I don't know if you understand, but let's create a paragraph element under that. Now let's say lost password. This will be containing a link also. Let's put in the hashtag to indicate that it links it to nowhere. Let's put in here, click here. Yeah, let's load that and you have something like this, right? Let's change this. Click here and you have something like this. Now let's go under that div element, under the after the p element, under the div element after the p element, let's create another div container named button field. That's btn field, btn for short, btn field, and let's create two button elements in it. Two button elements in it, and let's give the both of them type button. Then these two type button. Let's give this sign up, and let's give this a class of disable, which we are going to be styling in our CSS, and let's give this sign in. Let's load this and we have something like this, right? So we are basically done with everything about our form in HTML. Now we'll be moving to the style part of it, which is the CSS. Then we'll be using this star sign, which is called the global selector. It means we are applying the same style to every element in our HTML document. So let's give it a padding also of 0. I'm doing this for responsiveness, a little bit, responsiveness purpose. Let's give it font family. Font family, let's say Poppins. If you are used to designing, you get what I'm doing. Then let's say sans serif. So we have something like this, and let's give it a box sizing of say border box. So we have, if we should load this, we have something like this, right? There's no margin and padding. As you can notice, there's no space in between them, unlike before. Now let's go to the CSS file. Let's go to the CSS file and let's style the container, the div that with the class name of container. Let's give it a width of 100%. Sorry for that. A width of 100%. Let's give it an height of 100 viewports, Idah 100 VH. Let's give it a background. That's a background image. Let's give it linear gradient. And let's open our bracket. We'll be giving it the red, green, blue alpha, which is called the RGBA. It's a kind of color code 0, 0, 50.8. Let's give it another RGBA 0, 0, 50.8. Now if we should load that, we'll be having something like this as the background color. So next up we'll be styling the form box. That will be styling this container with the class name of form box. So let's go to our CSS file. Let's go with our CSS file. Right? Let's give this one a position of relative. So let's go to the next one and give it form box. Let's style the form box. Let's give it the form box a width of 30%. Let's give it a max width of 450 pixels. Let's give it a position of absolute. Let's give it top. It should be away from the top by 50%. It should be away from the left by 50% also. And let's transform it. The property of translate bracket minus 50%, minus 50%. This is what we are using it to. We are using this to place it exactly at the center. This. After every styling in your CSS, you should always close it with a semicolon, just like I'm doing here. So let's load this in our HTML file, and we have something like this, right? We have something like this. So let's give it a background of white. Can use the color code hashtag FFF, and let's load this, and we have something like this, right? As you can see, but it's looking, should we say, kind of too small. So let's give it a padding of 50, 60 and 70 pixels. A padding of 50, 60 and 70 pixels. So we'll be having something like this. 50 pixels, 60 pixels, 70 pixels. So if we should load this in our HTML, be having something like this, right? Let's give everything a text align of center. Let's align everything into the center. Text align center. Okay, take a look at our CSS. Let's remove this max width of 450 pixels and let's load here. Okay. Let's give this container a display of flex. Let's justify everything to the center. Justify content. Let's justify the content to the center. Let's see what we have here and let's align items to the center. So we should know this. We are having something like this, still the same, right? But let's continue with what we are doing. So yeah, we're pretty done with what we are now. Let's go to the form box H1. Let's give it let's give that form box now. Let's make the form box width bigger. Let's say let's give it a width of 50%. And we're having something much bigger than that. Let's give it a width of let's increase that 70%. And we're having something like this. And I kind of think this one is okay, but let's increase the width again. Let's say give it 90 and let's load it and we have something like this. This is good to work with. Now for the form box H1, for the H1 in the form box, so just put, to refer to the H1 in the form box, put dot form box H1 and let's go down. Box H1, let's give it a font size of 30 pixels. Let's load that and see what we have. And this is what shows dot form box H1. Let's give it a margin bottom of 60 pixels. Margin bottom of 60 pixels. I have something like this. This is good to work with actually. Let's give it a color. Let's make the color. Let me provide the color code. Let's give it a color. This should have a color of hashtag 3C00A0. Hashtag 3C00A0 and let's close this. Let's load that in our HTML and as you can see the color change to this. That's the color code for that, and let's give it a position of relative. A position of relative. position of relative. Let's go to the next one. Dot form box h1 after. So we're like creating something like, let's say, a line after it. So we'll be using this studio class called after, and we put 2 columns, then after. Let's give it content. Nothing should be there, so just like this. Close that. Let's give it width of 30 pixels. Let's give it an height of 4 pixels. Let's give it a border radius of 3 pixels. Let's give it a background of hashtag 3C0000. Background 3C00A0. Let's give it a position of absolute so that we will be able to move it freely. Position of absolute. Let's give it it should be away or you should draw near to the bottom by 12 pixels. Minus 2 pixels. The positive value is to push it away from it, while the negative value is used to pull that, that particular element, to the direction specified. Now let's make it to be away from the left by 50%, and let's give it a transform, and should transform and translate it to the x-axis by 50%. So that's supposed to be transformed. Translate x. That should be 50%. Now let's look at that. Let's look at what we did in our HTML, and we have something like this actually. So we should try making it nearer. We should try making it nearer to the center, because that's more you like it though, for the sign up. So let's look at the left, and let's give it let's say should have left should be 40. Let's load that and see what we have. Let's give it 35. Note that this is for only those using mobile device. Those using PC, yours will be done soon, and we'll have a class teaching responsiveness. Yeah, this looks like it's in the sender already, so we're done with that. Now we'll be moving on to the style the input field. If you could remember, that's where our input elements are. So let's put dot input field, dot input field. Now let's give it a background hashtag EA. That's a color code. Now let's load that, and we have something like this, right? So let's give it margin 15 pixels and 0. Let's load that in our HTML. We have something like this. Well, it's looking good actually. Now let's continue. Let's give it a border radius of 3 pixels. Let's give it display flex. Let's give it align items. Center. Let's give it a max height of 65 pixels. And let's load that in our HTML and see what we have. We have something like this, right? Let's give it a transition. Let's give it a transition. Max height 0.5 seconds. Now let's give this overflow. Let's hide the overflow, make it hidden. So let's load this using our HTML, and we have something still like this, right? Now let's give the input a width of 100%. It should take, the width should be the same as the width of the parent container. Now we would be giving the input element itself those styles. So let's give it width of 100%. So if we should load this, as you can see, it's taking 100% of that. And let's make the background transparent. Let's make it have no border. Let's remove the outline so that when you're focusing on it, there shouldn't be any border also. Outline 0. Let's give it a padding of 18 pixels and 15 pixels. So if we should load that using our HTML, we have something like this, right? It's making sense, right? As you can see. So we have something like this. And let's go to our CSS, because we are not yet done with that. So but the next one would be styling the form, the paragraph tag or the paragraph elements in the form. So let's give it text align of left. Let's align the text to the left. Let's align the text to the left. Now let's give it a font size of 13 pixels. That's all. Let's take a look at it. And you have something like this, right? Now let's continue with our styling. For the anchor tag in the paragraph tag, now we'll be attributing a style to it. Let's make it have no text decoration. And let's give it a color. 3C0080. We should know that we'll be having something like this, right? Right. So let's continue with that. Let's continue with that. For the BTN field, now we'll be giving it a style. So let's give it a width of 100%. Let's give it a display of flex, so they can be placed side by side. And when we load that using our HTML, we have something like this. I'm talking about the button part of it now. Let's what do we do? Let's give it a justified content of space between, so they can be have space between them and go to the end, to both ends of the container. Let's load that using our HTML. We have something like this. I'm talking about the button field now. Now for the button inside, or for the buttons inside the button field, let's start that too. So let's give it a flex basis of 48%. Let's give it a background of 3C0080. Hashtag 3. Let's give it a color, hashtag FFF. Let's give it a height of 40 pixels. Let's give it border radius of 20 pixels. Let's give it border of 0. Let's give it an outline of 0. Let's make it so that when you hover on it, maybe using desktop device, the cursor will be pointer. And let's give it a transition background 1 second. Now we have that, and let's load it using our HTML, and you have something like this for the button, right? Looking good, right? Now let's give the input group a height. Let's say a height of 280 pixels for the input group. For the input group, right? 280 pixels. Let's do that. Dot input group. Height of 280 pixels. So let's load that using our HTML and see the effect. As you can see, it makes the form box a little bit longer. Talking about the inbuilt group, we gave it a height, right? So you can see where the buttons are, but I think that height is much though. So let's reduce that to, let's say, 250 pixels. I think 250 should be okay. Or should we make it closer? Let's make it 210. Alright, we're getting close. Let's make it 225. 225 would be okay. We have something like this here. We're good to go. Now, let's start the one we gave the class of disable, right? Now, let's say for that one that we gave the class of disable, let's give it .btn field button .disable. So let's give it a background of EA hashtag EA, and let's give it a color of hashtag 555. Let's load that using our HTML file, and we have something like this. So welcome. Let's say that'll be all for the firm class. I hope you enjoy the class, and I hope you really understand everything we did. And again, note that the firm is for those using mobile devices only. Those using desktop devices will be uploaded later. That'll be all for the class, and I think we should check out the responsiveness of this though. Let's check. When it comes to this, you can see how it contains everything, how it expands. And let's check. I don't think we've done the responsiveness, but it's kind of responsive in the desktop view, in the mobile view. So thank you for staying throughout the class, and I hope you really enjoyed the class. Have a good day. Thank you. It's your sincerely Codex taking the Edu-Champs class for the firm. Thanks once again. Bye everyone.